Hello everybody, I'm Rainbow and welcome to Dimensional Walking. Today I thought I would do a video regarding something that I think is really important, and there are many questions that I get asked by people, and especially people writing in and asking help for different situations. One person in particular, Jessica, if you're watching this, I kind of created this video for you because I feel that the abduction phenomena encompasses so much more than what people think. It has a lot to do with opening up the veil to the ethereal world, the paranormal. You're more open to different entities and beings outside of aliens. There's different things that happen to you, especially if you've been dealing with this since the time that you were a child. And so for me, I've been dealing with the paranormal since I was very, very young. And what I realized at a very young age is that the feeling of isolation was a huge part of my upbringing, and it had nothing to do with the fact that I didn't have a loving family, because I did. I had a very loving family, great parents. I had sisters, everybody who loved me and cared for me. But when it comes to the paranormal, a lot of people don't understand what to do about it. Right when I was probably around 13 is when The Exorcist came out. So then we had all that scary aspect of possession and demons and all this stuff. And with abductions, sometimes it can feel just as scary, like you're dealing with something like that. Not necessarily like a full-on possession, but you're feeling as if you don't have control over your life, and you're at a point to where you're having to prove something that's hard to prove, because sometimes people don't see it outside of you, or sometimes it's that isolated, targeted feeling where something's happening to you and no one else can see it. Or maybe the chance of opportunity is always when you're by yourself, when something happens to you. And I'm not saying that it's something in the mind, paranoia. I'm not talking about people who are dealing with mental illness, because that's nothing to make a joke about. I'm talking about people who don't have any mental illness and they're dealing with situations that quite frankly are scary, and there's not a book out there, there's not a way of dealing with it if you're dealing with it firsthand. So how I survived it all is, I think, realizing that I wasn't alone. And in saying that, what I mean is, I always felt there was someone around me, I couldn't see them, that was protecting me. Excuse me. And because of this, I was able to kind of get through each day. Now, it doesn't mean that that I wasn't scared, because I was. Because I had different aspects of the paranormal that I was dealing with that could make a really good movie, but I'm not any different than many other people out there who had really scary experiences that they were dealing with from the time they were children. The whole point of trying to live your life and deal with this stuff is to figure out the solutions and figure out the footsteps that you took to get to where you're at. And so I think that it's really important to have an innate belief in yourself. You have to know that you can overcome whatever is happening to you, because the whole probably 10 years of my life, from 8 to 18, I felt very alone. And in those years, I had a lot of paranormal activity happening. I had a lot of abductions happening. I had a lot of things happening to me that I just wasn't willing to share with anybody because I was just so mortified that it was happening to me. I remember waking up in the morning knowing I was abducted and having that pink fluid in my private parts, and trying to figure out what the heck happened. Did I mess my pants and not know it, or would I eat something bad? And it was always something that was I knew there was no logical explanation for it because I knew that I was fine. So you have to take these situations for what they are. And I realized that something was being done to me. And I knew in the morning when I wake up that something was different. So what I realized is that I had an empathic ability to know sometimes before I was going to be abducted, I had that sense. And after I was abducted, even though there were blocks put in, I knew something had happened. And so I learned from the age of 8 to 18 that something abnormal happened, but I still had my sanity. I still had myself. And even though I couldn't talk to anybody about it, I felt that if I kind of kept my empathic ability in knowing before and after, that I could keep my sanity. And that's the whole point of this, is learning how to keep your sanity. And I think it's important to understand that you don't have to actually try to make people believe in what you're experiencing. You don't have to tell everybody this is happening to you. What's important is telling people who can actually help you. The few, people who can help you will take you along further on your journey than the many who just want to make fun of you or hear crazy stories. So for me, I did find a few who would listen to me. So I also think that you have to get a grip on your belief system. Not so much religious, but spiritual. And there's nothing wrong with religious. I mean, I love going into churches, like I've always stated. That's my favorite thing to do because I love the feeling, that the vibration of churches. I love the love energy of churches. I love creating that in my home. But what I realized is that I had to protect myself. Your parents can't protect you all the time because if they don't understand what you're going through, what were they going to do about it? My mom and dad had experienced stuff, but it was like in most families, it was never talked about. So as a child, I realized that I had to figure out a way how to formalize in my mind what was going on with me so that when I got older, I could actually go and get some help. And I think that was one of the first things that I did, called a diary. Because when you're writing in a diary, you're basically stating everything that you're feeling. Your fears, your concerns, what you're pissed off about, who didn't help you, who doesn't believe you, all this stuff. And so getting your feelings out on paper is really, really important. So writing down everything that happens to you. Or at this point in time, you can videotape yourself and talk about it and say what happened to you. A lot of people are doing that right now. Document what happens to you and know that you're not alone. I think the one thing that from the age of 8 to 18 that I realized is that I was so alone that it was hard for me to make friends. And that's in the abduction arena, that's what they want. They want you to be more of a loner. They want you to be someone who they can target more so that they can do what they need to do. And they can be whoever. It could be alien groups, It could be shadow government. It could be other beings and alien groups that we don't even know about. It can be dimensional beings, whoever. Whatever you're experiencing, the bottom line is they want to isolate you and make you feel alone, like you're the only one on the planet dealing with this problem, which is so silly because there's so many people who are. So let's talk a little bit about the demon aspect of the paranormal. I dealt with a jinn back when, excuse me, when when Michael and I were living in Utah. And the thing that I realized about dealing with the jinn is I realized that there's different realms of beings that are extremely old, and some are dimensional, some aren't even from here. And I think that demons in this regard are actually in the realm of other dimensional beings outside of being very old beings here in this reality, in this dimension. And from what I remembered from what the jinn Antioch told me was that they're not demons, but they don't have humans' best interest at heart. I don't know why demons want to possess humans. I don't know what the possession does for them. Maybe it's because they're so dark. They want to feel the light, because we are light beings. We are made of light. And I think we're very attractive to many different other beings in other dimensions, in other realms, because of this fact. So if we have this much attraction to us, then there's a reason why we as humans should know how amazing we are. We are full of light. We are light beings. And so I realized as I got older, especially with the Native American way, that as I learned to be a medicine woman, I learned that I was a twilight walker. So, excuse me, I had to walk in the twilight to be able to peer into the darkness, into the paranormal. But I was in the light because this is what I'm made of. This is who I am. So if you're made of light and you understand your path in life, the possession can't take place, because once you know your place in this reality, nothing can take control of you. You have to give into it. You have to give permission for it to happen. And if you're made of light, and that's the one thing that these things don't like. They don't want light. But maybe they want to feel it for whatever reason. But there's no light in them. So this is who we are. We're amazing, phenomenal beings. And I think once we start to realize that, these things can't touch us. And I had my experiences when I was in my 20s where I actually had a satanic occult target me, videotape me, and they were trying to do different things to get me to meet up with some of the females in their cult, and they were trying to do, they went way out of their way to try to get me involved in whatever they were trying to do. And I was very lucky because I was married to a medicine man named Thunderbow, who just helped me and helped me realize how what I was able to do and to get these people to get away from me. So if I can do it, you all can do it. What I'm saying here is that the paranormal, once it touches you, and once you have the abductions, your world is kind of changed forever, especially if it's happened since you were a child. And so since this happened to me since I was a child, and I'm empathic, a lot of spirits and beings are attracted to me and come to me. And that includes the path that I take, which is very, you're always looking for answers, so you take paths that are least traveled. that's just the way it is as a medicine man or a medicine woman or anybody who's interested in finding out the answers. So just like Michael's website, Truth Seeker Forum, he's always looking for the answers, and that's what we do. But in looking for the answers, we kind of develop our identity as a human being. And I think that's the one thing that, if we as humans can understand this, our journey on this life, the more we understand about being a human being, the stronger we can get in being a human being. And so for me, as an experiencer with abductions and spirits and different things about the paranormal, I'm stronger now because I know my path. I walk my path in a way to where I know I have a right to walk it, and nothing has the right to try to get me off my path. And I think that's what these, the possessions and the demons and the dark entities try to do, the shadow people. They try to get us off our path so that we can walk in fear, because that gives them the upper hand. So let's not give anything the upper hand. And that's one thing that I've tried to do most of my life, is to look whatever it is straight in the face, or whatever it is, and stand up to it. Now, sometimes we have to know when to walk away, which is, the aspect of skinwalkers, because there's lots of different scary things out there. I'm not saying go up and go into battle into the paranormal or anything dark in any type of entity that is out there. You got to be able to walk away and know when, how to pick your battles. But here's the bottom line: is Michael and I had done a podcast last month. It was Ryan Burns. It was his hero podcast, and we talked about skinwalkers. And the one thing about the topic is that it stated that Native Americans won't speak about something like that because they don't want to attract evil to them. And I'm an oddball here. I'm a bit of a rebel, because I don't agree with that at all, because I think knowledge is power. And so I think the more that we research and learn about something, the more that we know about it, the more that we can be wary of it, the more that we can know to stay away from it, or if it does cross our path, we know what we're dealing with. So I'd rather help people be knowledgeable, because knowledge is power, to empower them to be able to deal with anything that has to do with the paranormal. I'm not one of those people that believes that you have to not speak of something and, just kind of, because it's going to go away. All it does is you just push it under the rug, and it'll come out. And I'm one of those people where I don't want it coming out. I want it done with. I want either the spirit world to know what they're allowed to do with me or not. What these entities and beings, I want them to know that they can't come around me if they don't have my permission. So knowledge is power. So research, read about things, and know not to be afraid of finding out about dark things. I'm a twilight walker. I look and peer into the darkness because I have to know what's there in order to help people. And I think that's so important to understand, that the more research that you do and the more people you talk to, these things can't hide. I would rather have something out in the open where we can all see it than hiding in plain sight. And that includes the alien aspect as well, or anything that's shadowy, or anything that is dark. I think that we as a society need to stop being afraid of what these things are. I mean, we can watch a scary movie till we're, blue in the face, but the reality of what is out there is 10 times more scarier than what's in any movie, especially when it's happening to you in the real world. You can't just watch a movie for 2 hours and then go back to your real life, because your real life is the scary movie. So with all this being said, just realize to empower yourself with knowledge. Know that you are worthy. Know that you walk your path determined to find the answers, and you will find the answers. The important thing is to understand how to do it safely. You have to do it in a way to where you don't go looking for trouble. I don't go looking for trouble, but if trouble and me, our paths cross, I have to know what to do, and so do you. As far as the abductions, what I've understood for me, and one thing that Thunderbolt taught me was to do a mental focus on my inner core. And there have been times when I was paralyzed, and one time was in Egypt when I was traveling there and learning how to do my belly dance and studying out there. I probably was paralyzed for about 10 minutes. And I remember when it happened to me, I was on my stomach and something was pushing down really hard on my lower back. And I could move my eyes, but I could not. I could see the room all around me because I had my head turned. But I couldn't move. And I was sweating profusely, not because it was hot, but because I was in so much trauma from being paralyzed. And I just went into my inner core, like Thunderbolt taught me, and I willed myself to move. And it's really mind over matter. And I think the more that we can find our inner core, the more that we can focus, meditate, go into that inner place, our inner altar, and understand who we are, the less control these things have of us. Because I was eventually able to gain control over my body. And it was a very scary experience. But I realized that, you know what? Either they let me go or I was able to do this. And I kind of went, well, you know, I'm going to go with I was able to do this. And so from that point on, if something like that happened to me, I knew what to do. I was able to focus to my inner core and mind over matter and just will myself and focus in on getting different, a finger to move or a toe to move or my foot or my arm, and then eventually the rest of my body, I would be able to get it free. And so you just have to figure out a way to find out how to fight your battles in a way that's more fitting for you. It's this my way isn't everybody's way. But I've gotten to my path and to where I am today because I believe in myself. And I think that's the biggest thing that I want to share with everybody. Just believe in yourself. Believe how amazing you are. Remember who you are. Remember that you are part of Source. You're a part of something that is so powerful and so amazing. And it's so easy to forget. But let's not forget that we're amazing beings and we're here for a purpose and for a reason. And so at this point in my path and on my journey, not a lot scares me because I know I have a lot of help. So I'm very aware of the archangels, the angels, my spirit guides, my family who have passed on, who are with me. I don't feel alone. That's one thing that I haven't felt in years. So just remember you're not alone. It's not just always what's around you. It's how you feel inside. So what's in you is so much more vast than what we can all imagine. I mean, think about it in the Men in Black way where there's universes inside universes inside universes. Imagine what's inside us that we don't even know is there. So the discovery of who we are starts with us starting to look within ourselves to see who and what we are. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening in, and I hope that this maybe helps some of you. If you have any comments to add, anything that you want to state that you have been able to conquer and come through and walk your path the way that you want, please join in the comments and let's all talk about it. So if you have any questions, write us at dimensionalwalking@gmail.com. And I'm a busy bee working. I work full-time and odd hours. So I try to get to everybody as best I can. Michael's helping me with the comments. And as always, we are so grateful and appreciative of all of you. So take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.